3 a.m. The intercom said my name. The store was locked, and I was completely alone. My name is Craig. I've been working night security at a Walmart just outside Billings, Montana, for the past 11 months. Midnight to 6. That's my shift. It's mostly uneventful. Walk the floor every 30 minutes. Watch the monitors. Check the receiving dock twice a night. And if someone tries to break in, which almost never happens, I call the sheriff's office. You hear the buzzing of the fluorescent lights before you even step in. It's a constant, low hum. That noise becomes your baseline after a while, like your own breathing. You forget it's there until it stops. The store at night is nothing like it is during the day. Empty aisles, shelves stacked too neatly. No carts, no music, just the lights overhead, too white and too cold. Most nights I make a cup of coffee in the break room, walk the store once every half hour, sit in the security booth between patrols and watch the monitors. It's enough to make your eyes dull, but some nights, something's off. Like 2 weeks ago, aisle 13. There's a toy section there mid-aisle, usually just plush toys, Lego sets, a few battery-operated dinosaurs. Nothing unusual, but that night one of the aisle lights kept flickering, just that one, like it had its own rhythm. At 2:06 a.m. I did my first floor walk. Everything was fine. I noted the flickering bulb. I passed it, ignored it. By 2:31 I was back in the booth, sipping from my thermos, watching the screens, and then, motion. Camera 13 lit up. That's the far end of the toy aisle. I leaned forward. A shape, small, unmoving at first. Then it took a step to the left. It was a child. Alone, barefoot, wearing what looked like pajamas. No cart, no adult, no sound. Just standing under that flickering light, facing the shelf of dolls. My first instinct was to check the front doors. Nothing had triggered the entrance. No alarms, no breach. I switched to the rear dock camera. Same, no movement. Then I looked back. The child was gone. I stared at the screen, rewound the footage 10 seconds, watched again. One frame she was there, the next gone. No transition, no blur, just gone. I stood up, left the booth, walked fast down the main aisle. The buzzing lights followed me. Every step sounded louder than it should have. When I turned into aisle 13, I didn't see anyone. I didn't hear anything. Just that flickering light above the plush toys. And one of them, a pink stuffed bear, lying face down on the floor. Everything else was in place, which made what happened next even harder to explain. I picked up the stuffed bear. Its tag was still on. No stains, no tears, just soft fabric and plastic eyes staring up blankly. I scanned the aisle, top to bottom, both ends. No one. It felt colder than usual. Not the kind of cold you notice immediately. More like something draining from the air slowly, until you realize you're uncomfortable without knowing why. I walked all the way to the back wall, turned into the next aisle. Still nothing. It didn't make sense. We have 16 cameras. Every entrance has motion sensors. The night alarm was active, and the front doors, they're locked at 11 p.m. sharp. Even if you tried, the pressure lock on the inside would resist opening without a badge. I walked back to the booth, checked the feed again, rewound it further this time. Watched camera 13 in reverse. 10 minutes, 20, nothing. The child had appeared, literally appeared, on one frame. One still image of a little girl in pajamas. Frame before that, empty aisle. Frame after, empty again. I printed a screenshot, took it straight to my manager the next morning. Her name's Karen, works days, barely talks to night staff. But that morning, I waited outside her office at 7 a.m. When she walked in, I followed. I didn't even sit, just dropped the printout on her desk. She looked at it once, then twice. Then she slid it back toward me. "You're not allowed to print personal copies off company machines." That's what she said. I waited, tried to explain what I saw. She didn't blink, didn't even pretend to care. "Security footage is for incident review only," she added. No incident, no report. So I asked her plainly if a child had been reported missing, left behind, anything. She just said, "Not from our store." Then she stood up and opened the door for me. That was the first time I noticed it. When she stood, she leaned slightly. like her right leg didn't want to move the same as the left. And her hand, the one holding the door, trembled just enough that I knew she was forcing it still. She wasn't unaffected. She was pretending. Back in the booth, I stared at the printout for almost an hour. I kept it in my locker. Still have it. There's something strange about her face. Blurry around the mouth, like the camera didn't catch her fully. But the eyes, they're sharp. Too sharp for a frame that blurry. That night, I checked every corner of the store twice. I started carrying my flashlight differently. Not down at my side, but raised, always ready. At 2:17 a.m., motion again. Camera 9 this time. Toiletries. When I switched to the feed, it was nothing. Just shampoo bottles, toothpaste, end caps with sale tags. But one thing was different. Someone had opened a package of toothbrushes and arranged them in a neat circle on the floor, each one pointing inward, like a clock. No one was on the floor but me. I checked the recording. Same thing. No one entered. No one left. Just a flicker. And the circle was there. There are rules in a place like this. Rules you don't question. Because nothing's supposed to happen at 2 a.m. But something did. Something had come in, without being seen, without using doors. And it was trying to be noticed. There's something about the toy aisle at night that doesn't sit right. Even before all this, even before I saw her, I never liked walking through there after hours. Maybe it's the colors. Too bright, too loud. Plastic packaging that catches light wrong. Or the silence, the way it feels deeper between shelves meant for children. After that second night, I started checking aisle 13 every hour. It became part of my loop. Always the same route. Electronics, grocery, frozen goods, then toys. But I stopped cutting through the aisles. I began sticking to the main paths. Open lines of sight. I wanted to see everything coming. By the fourth night, I found something new. A doll had been moved. Not just nudged, placed. On the floor, legs crossed, arms extended, facing outward. Perfectly centered under the flickering light. It was one of those old-style plastic dolls with the fixed smile and glassy eyes. A brand we didn't even carry anymore. Its tag was missing. No price, no barcode, just there. I stood over it for a long time. No movement, no sound. Then I heard it, faint behind me. A soft tap, like knuckles brushing metal. I turned. Nothing. I checked the shelves, the back wall, the camera above me. Everything still. Then I looked down again. The doll was facing me. I'm sure of it. I don't know how long I stood there. Long enough for my legs to ache. Long enough for the light above to go out completely. Not just flicker, but die. I reached for my flashlight, shined it at the shelf where the doll had come from. Nothing was missing. Nothing looked out of place. But something had moved. The next night, I brought duct tape. Marked the spot where the doll had been, marked the position of 2 nearby boxes. I even photographed the shelf layout with my phone. 2:04 a.m., all clear. 2:37 a.m., I came back. The marks were undisturbed, but the doll had changed again. This time it was lying flat, arms at its sides, eyes closed. It hadn't moved, it had shifted, as if someone had decided it needed rest. And next to it, something new. A small plastic ring, pale blue, probably from a toy tea set. It hadn't been there before. I checked the shelves, nothing missing, no empty hooks, no signs of a broken package. I picked it up, cold to the touch, colder than it should have been for room temperature plastic. When I returned to the booth, I put it in a Ziploc bag and locked it in my drawer. That morning, I asked the day staff in toys if they'd rearranged anything. They said no. I asked if they carried that specific doll, the one with the old-style face. They looked at me blankly, said it didn't match any recent stock. So I printed the photo from my phone, took it to inventory. Not in the system. That's when it hit me. It wasn't just the girl. Whatever this was, it brought things with it. Toys that weren't sold here, patterns that didn't match, objects no one had touched but me, and they were always left out after 2 a.m. You stop thinking of it as a store after a while. It becomes a box, a place with lights and angles and corners you memorize by heart. You know the sound of each floor tile, which cooler doors hum louder, where the cameras lag by half a second. It becomes predictable, mechanical. So when something changes, even slightly, you feel it before you see it. It started with the tiles near the garden center. It was 2:22 a.m. I had just finished checking the back perimeter. No movement, nothing on cameras. I walked through housewares and turned the corner near the seasonal aisle when I saw them. Footprints, small, wet, spaced like a child had been walking slowly. The floor was dry, but the prints were damp. Not puddles, not water pooled, just impressions. Moisture pressed into the tiles, visible under the overhead light. I knelt down, touched one. Cold, not sticky, no smell, just damp. I followed them. They led across the aisle, past folding chairs, past bags of soil and citronella torches, and then they stopped. Not faded, not dried, stopped, mid-tile, as if whoever made them vanished in place. I backtracked, checked the surrounding aisles. Nothing. No footprints leading in, no exit path, just those 11 prints in a straight line, and nothing else. That same night I found another set near the pharmacy. Same size, same shape. Slightly angled inward, like the child's toes pointed toward each other when she walked. Again, no source, no endpoint. I started documenting them. Dates, times, locations. I kept a little notebook in the booth drawer. Drew outlines. Took photos. It made no sense. The strangest part, they never overlapped. Every print was spaced perfectly, as if whoever made them had never stumbled, never changed pace, like a machine imitating a child's walk. One night I waited, sat near the toy aisle with the lights off, just the red camera LED blinking. No sound, no movement. Then, faint steps, barefoot, soft, like skin on linoleum. I held my breath. They came from the next aisle over, but when I peeked around the corner, nothing, no child, no figure, just the sound stopping. I turned on my flashlight, and there they were, fresh prints, right in front of me, still forming. I watched one appear, literally appear, as if an invisible foot had just touched the floor. I stepped back, raised the light, but there was nothing. No shadow, no presence, just the air, wrong somehow, like the pressure was off, like the aisle had been sealed shut from the rest of the world. I took a picture, but the photo came out black, fully black. No shapes, no tiles, just darkness. I saved it anyway. That was the night I stopped walking without gloves. I started wearing long sleeves, covered every inch of skin. I don't know why, but I couldn't stop thinking about those footprints. Something was touching this place, and whatever it wasn't just walking. It was watching too. I stopped watching the monitors the same way after that. Before, they were tools, screens, a way to verify reality. Now, they felt like filters, something in between me and what was really there. Like they didn't just record, they chose what to show. It was a Tuesday when I saw the eyes. 2:13 a.m. Camera 4. Frozen goods. I was reviewing old footage, trying to match timestamps from the footprints the night before. I'd gone back about 3 hours, watching each angle in 5-minute intervals. Most of it was static, nothing but shelves and silence. Then, on one frame, I saw something. Not movement, not a shadow. Eyes, small, set low, at shelf level. 2 of them. Reflective, like animal eyes at night. Except they didn't blink, didn't shift. They just stared directly at the lens. I paused, rewound, zoomed in. The rest of the aisle was unchanged. Frozen pizzas, stack of soda cases. No human figures, no carts. But between the boxes, wedged into the back, were those 2 eyes. Perfectly symmetrical, fixed, and wide open. The moment I hit play, they vanished. No transition, no motion blur, just gone, shelf full, space filled. I printed the frame, stared at it under the booth light. That part of the shelf, that exact cubby, wasn't large enough for a person, not even a child. It was maybe 12 inches deep, barely enough to hide a plush toy, but the eyes had been at least 6 inches apart. I walked to the aisle. Same time the next night. Flashlight raised, knees bent. I checked that exact shelf. There were snack boxes where the eyes had been. I moved them gently. Nothing behind. No vents, no mirrors. Just the metal backing of the shelf. And yet, When I closed one eye and aligned myself to the same angle as the camera, I swore I felt something shift. Like the air in front of my face warped slightly. It passed. I stepped back, took one of the snack boxes with me, kept it in the booth. I reviewed more footage that week, every camera, every angle, and I found more. Aisle 5, pet food. Something peeking just above a bag of kibble. Camera 2, stationary. A handprint on the back of a rotating card display, visible for one frame only. Camera 8, bulk items. A pale shape under a pallet, curled, still, each one hidden, subtle, designed not to be noticed unless you were already looking for something out of place. None of them moved, none of them reappeared, but they were there. The next day, I taped over the monitors, covered the lower third with Post-its, just enough so I wouldn't see shelf level anymore. I still checked the cameras, still did my job, but I didn't want to see those eyes again, because something in them wasn't right. They weren't watching for movement, they were waiting for recognition. There's a quiet that settles around 3 a.m. It's different from midnight quiet. It's not just silence, it's suspension. Like the whole building exhales and holds it. Even the lights seem dimmer, like they've decided to conserve energy for whatever comes next. That's when the intercom spoke. I was in the booth, eyes on the screen, thermos half full, and then, click, the sound system engaged. I froze. No one uses the PA at night. It's offline, disconnected at the board. Karen made sure of that months ago after a prank call incident. But there it was, the static hum of the intercom line, live. Then came the voice. Craig. Soft, drawn out, like someone learning the name as they said it. Craig. Are you watching? The voice was wrong. Too quiet for the speaker volume, but somehow clear. Like it was right next to me. And it wasn't a question. It was a test. I stood up fast, backed away from the booth. My radio clicked on my belt. No one else was on shift. I looked at the console. The intercom button wasn't lit. The system panel was blank. But the voice came again. Come see. Just those 2 words, like an invitation carved into the air. Then, click. Silence. The line went dead. I didn't move for a full minute. Then I opened the booth door and stepped into the aisle. The lights above me buzzed louder than usual. The sound seemed to follow. I turned toward the PA system junction box at the electronics desk. It was locked. I used my key, opened the panel, and just like I knew it would be, the wires were pulled, clean, disconnected from the source. The intercom couldn't have worked, and yet it did. I walked the floor, slowly, flashlight off, listening. There's something deeply unnatural about a child's voice in the dark when no child should be there. It activates something ancient in your body, something that doesn't want logic. It wants escape. I passed aisle 13. The flickering light was out, completely dark. I stepped inside. Nothing, no movement. Then, from behind me, a sound. A plastic crinkle, like a candy wrapper. I turned fast. The voice returned, but this time, behind me. Don't look away. I spun, flashlight raised. No one. Just the shelves, and on the floor, a crayon, red, lying perfectly parallel to the edge of the aisle. I picked it up. It had a name scratched into the wrapper, not printed, scratched by hand. Craig. I don't know how long I stood there holding that thing, but when I looked up again, the light above me turned on. No flicker, just full illumination. And at the far end of the aisle, a shadow moved, low, quick, gone. I didn't chase it. I walked backward, slowly, until I was out of that section. When I got back to the booth, the radio hissed once, a short burst of static, and then silence. I placed the crayon in the drawer next to the plastic ring. I didn't sleep that morning, and I didn't tell anyone, because that voice knew my name, and it was speaking from something that wasn't wired to speak. The next morning I went in early, not to clock out, but to wait. I sat in the employee break room with the lights off, door open, coffee cold in my hands. Karen always arrives by 7:10, sharp. She doesn't speak to the night staff unless she has to, keeps her eyes down, clipboard ready. But that morning, I waited for her to walk past, and I followed. She went straight into her office, closed the door without looking. I knocked once. Silence. I knocked again. Finally, yes? I stepped in and placed the crayon on her desk. No envelope, no words, just the crayon. She didn't touch it, didn't blink, just stared at it like it was a relic. Then she said something I didn't expect. "Where did you find it?" I told her. She nodded, just once. Then she stood, locked the door behind me, and sat down. Her face changed. Not fear. Something closer to fatigue. "You're not the first to hear her," she said. "Not the first to see her either." I didn't speak. She looked past me, like watching memory move through the wall. She always shows up the same way. After 2, never before. She doesn't try to hide, but she doesn't want to be known either. I asked her if it was a ghost. She shook her head. "No, ghosts are echoes. This is something else." She reached into her drawer and pulled out a thin folder. Inside, a faded report. A missing child notice dated 2014. No name, just female, approx. Age 6, last seen inside location. She slid it toward me. Her hand trembled slightly again. "No body, no footage, no lawsuit. They called it a clerical error. We weren't supposed to talk about it." I read the summary. A girl was reported missing by her mother around 3:18 a.m. She claimed her daughter had run ahead of her in the store, but by the time she reached the end of the toy aisle, she was gone. She screamed. Security searched. Police were called. The store was evacuated, but the doors had never opened, and no child was found. Karen looked at me. "She's been here ever since." I asked her why they never closed the store. She almost laughed. A dry, empty sound. "Walmart doesn't close for ghosts." I asked what I should do. She leaned forward. "Don't speak to her. Don't follow her. Don't acknowledge her beyond the first glance." I asked what happens if I do. Her face went still. "No one who did ever finish their employment here." Then she stood and opened the door. Conversation over. I took the crayon with me. When I turned back at the end of the hallway, I saw her at her desk. Both hands on her temples, eyes closed tight. Like she was trying to push something out of her skull. Like the memory wasn't hers anymore, but something she was forced to carry. That night I walked slower. Checked every aisle twice. Didn't speak. Didn't hum. Didn't make a single sound. And at 2:11 a.m. I passed the toy section. Nothing there. Except the light, flickering. Back again. There's a woman who cleans the floors between 3 and 5. Her name's Melba. 68. Been working here longer than most of the managers. Doesn't speak unless spoken to. Moves with that slow, practiced rhythm you only get after years of repetition. She's the kind of person who knows every stain by name. Which mop works best for which spill. Where the floor dips just slightly between aisles 9 and 10. And she always avoids aisle 13. I noticed it about a week after the intercom incident. She'd start on aisle 12, push the buffer down halfway, then skip the next section entirely and jump to 14. No hesitation, no glance. Like that stretch didn't exist. That night, I waited until her second pass. She was near the pharmacy, buffer humming, head low. I asked her, gently, why she skipped that aisle. She didn't look up. "Not mine to clean," she said. I asked her what she meant. Melba stopped the machine. Still didn't look at me, but her voice was steady. "She's quiet if you leave her space." I felt my throat tighten. "You've seen her?" Now she looked at me, old eyes, tired but focused. She's not always a child. Sometimes she's just shapes, a foot between shelves, a hand behind the freezer door. You see her most when you don't mean to. I asked how long she'd been appearing. Melba thought for a second. Long time. Long enough they stopped asking questions. She went back to the buffer, started moving again. I walked beside her, keeping my voice low. "Why doesn't anyone report it?" "Because we still get paid. Store stays open. People shop. Managers come and go." She glanced over. "But you stay long enough. She notices you." I asked if anyone ever tried to talk to her. Melba didn't answer. She just said, "Don't use her name, even if you find it." Then she handed me something from her apron pocket, a folded piece of receipt paper, yellowed, edges soft. Inside, a sketch, done in blue ink, crude but clear. It showed a girl, hair down, feet bare, standing in front of the toy shelf with her back turned. No face, no color, just a shape. Melba stopped at the end of the aisle and tapped the drawing. That's how she looks when she wants something. I stared at the sketch. The outline felt too familiar, too close to what I saw that first night. I asked her if she'd ever spoken to it. She didn't answer, just turned the buffer back on and walked away. That night, I stayed out of aisle 13, didn't even look in. But when I passed the front entrance at 3:04 a.m., I saw something in the reflection of the glass. Behind me, a shape, small, standing still under a dead light. And when I turned, there was nothing there, just the long aisle, and a pink bear sitting upright in the middle of the floor, facing me. There's a rhythm to the lights here. Most people don't notice it. But when you walk these aisles alone, every night for months, you start to hear it. It's not just flickering, it's patterned, like breath or code. Some bulbs buzz, some hum, some dim for no reason. But the worst ones, they pulse, slow, deliberate, like a heartbeat that doesn't belong to you. And lately, they've been following her. The first time I noticed it, I was walking the perimeter near the cleaning supplies. At exactly 2:41 a.m., the overhead light 3 aisles down started flickering. 1 second on, 1 second off. I thought it was a ballast issue. We get those sometimes. But as I turned the corner, it stopped. Then the light above me began flickering. Same rhythm. 1, 2, pause. It didn't feel random. I turned slowly and saw her, just for a moment. At the far end of aisle 13, backlit by a single steady bulb, standing completely still, arms down, head tilted slightly. Then she stepped back into the dark, and the light above her died. Not flickered, died. When I ran to that aisle, she was gone, but the lights kept telling her story. That week, the pattern became routine. Flickering started exactly between 2:35 and 2:55. Always the same bulbs, toy aisle, frozen foods, near the loading dock. No order, no schedule, but always the same sequence. Sometimes I'd walk ahead of it, sometimes I'd follow behind. But every time I reached the last light in the sequence, there she was. Never close, never moving, just waiting. It became a kind of communication, a way of knowing where she'd be. But it didn't feel like she was warning me. It felt like she was leading me somewhere. That Friday, I tested it. I brought a small hand counter, clicked it every time a light flickered overhead, mapped the timing. Then I stood at the center of the store and waited. 2:42, click. Light above frozen goods. 2:44, click. Baby aisle. 2:47, click. Aisle 13. I walked toward the last location, and there she was. Not standing this time, crouched, facing the shelves, one hand resting on a toy box. It was a dollhouse, one we hadn't stocked in years. As I approached, she lifted her hand. Not fast, not sudden, just lifted, as if acknowledging me. Then the bulb above us popped. Glass rained down. The aisle went completely dark. I turned on my flashlight, but the beam bent. Not failed, bent, like it curved away from where she had been. By the time I adjusted, she was gone. The dollhouse was still there. I picked it up. It was warm, like someone had just held it. I brought it back to the booth, but the moment I crossed the entrance sensors, the lights in the entire building dimmed for 3 full seconds. Every single one. Then came back on. I returned the dollhouse to the shelf, and after that, the lights stopped flickering. For 2 nights, nothing, no pulses, no signals. It felt worse than before, because the silence didn't mean peace. It meant she was waiting for me to respond. The break room is the only place in this building that feels human after 2 a.m. It's warm, soft lit, slightly undercleaned. There's a faint smell of microwave noodles and burnt coffee grounds. You sit down, the chair squeaks, the vending machine hums, and for a few minutes the store doesn't exist. I started spending more time there after the dollhouse incident, not to rest, just to escape. There's one entrance, one exit, small glass panel in the door. If something wants in, you'll see it first. At least, that's what I told myself. It was a Monday night, 2:33 a.m. I was heating water for instant coffee, watching the microwave spin. The store had been dead quiet. No motion alerts, no light pulses, no flickers, just quiet, until I tried to leave. I turned the handle. Nothing. Tried again. Jammed. Not locked, not stuck. Jammed. I pressed harder, rattled it, then pulled. Still nothing. I stepped back, tapped the glass, and that's when I saw her. Through the narrow window, her face, pressed against the glass, just enough to show the side of her cheek, eye partially visible, mouth relaxed. She didn't blink, didn't move, just stood there. I didn't speak. I backed away slowly, sat at the far end of the room. The microwave beeped. She didn't react. The vending machine clicked. Still no movement. I watched the seconds pass on the microwave clock. 2:34, 2:35, 2:36. She didn't move for 5 full minutes. Then her hand rose. Not a wave, not a gesture, just one small palm, pressed flat against the glass. The light above the break room door began to dim, then brighten, then dim again. Steady rhythm, 1 second on, 1 second off, like the pattern before, except this time, it was aimed at me. I stood slowly, walked to the door. Her face didn't shift, but I saw her breath on the glass now, forming small fog patterns, in and out, slow, rhythmic. I reached out, pressed my palm against hers, glass in between. Instantly, the light above us cut out, total darkness. I stepped back. When the emergency lights kicked in, she was gone. The door handle turned freely again. I didn't leave right away. I just stood there, staring at the empty hallway, and I knew something had changed. Before, she lingered near shelves, monitors, toy aisles. But now, she was seeking me out, crossing thresholds, waiting outside the only door I trusted. She had been patient, and now she wanted to come in. I avoided it as long as I could. Aisle 13. That stretch of shelves had become something else, not just a location, but a signal. A pressure point in the store, the place where things appeared, flickered, shifted, where lights pulsed without power, where toys moved without hands. It had changed, not just in feeling, in shape. The aisle felt longer. The walk from one end to the other took seconds longer than it should. I measured it, 38 paces, then 41, then 46. Every night, it grew, subtly, just enough for someone like me to notice. The stock didn't change, same brands, same signage, but the gaps between fixtures widened, like the shelves were drifting apart without being moved. Then came the boxes. One night, I turned the corner, and the far end of aisle 13 was blocked off. Cardboard pallets stacked to the ceiling, shrink-wrapped, no labels, no barcodes, just a wall. I asked the stock team the next morning. No one claimed responsibility. No instructions from management. No delivery logs matching that size or quantity. Karen shrugged. Maybe overnight inventory. She didn't look me in the eyes when she said it. For 3 nights, the aisle remained like that, closed, caged, and then one box disappeared, not moved, not opened, gone, leaving a small passage behind it, just wide enough to step through. The space beyond didn't match the store layout. It curved slightly. The lighting changed. There was no overhead track, just a faint glow coming from above, like fluorescence buried behind something soft. The walls felt closer, the shelves taller, and at the end of the new corridor, something stood, too dark to make out, but it moved as I did, like a mirror without glass. I took 1 step closer. It didn't flinch. Then I heard it, a whisper, close to my ear, but clearly not mine. Inside, the flashlight in my hand dimmed, and the overhead light flickered once, long and slow. I turned back. The entrance behind me was narrower than before. The cardboard boxes had shifted inward, closing the path. I pushed through, stumbled out into the main aisle, heart pounding. When I looked back, the gap was sealed, fully. No sign of opening, no sign of passage, just sealed cardboard, perfectly stacked. I checked the cameras later. The aisle didn't exist. Camera 13 showed static for 15 full minutes, then returned to normal, as if nothing had ever happened. But I felt it. That space had been real. The air, the floor, the feeling of gravity changing. It wasn't just a corridor anymore. Aisle 13 had become something else, something that didn't care about doors. The monitors were the last thing I trusted. Even with all the flickers, the blind spots, the glimpses of impossible things, they were still eyes, still records, still something I could rewind, pause, dissect, until they stopped showing me the truth. It began with camera 6, toys and seasonal. I was reviewing footage from the night before, 2:39 a.m. At first glance, everything was normal. Then I saw her, standing at the midpoint of the aisle, head down, arms hanging, standard posture by now. But when I flipped to camera 7, the garden section, she was there too. Same timestamp, same second. 2 feeds, 2 versions. One facing a shelf of dolls, the other standing by the bags of mulch looking out toward the hallway. I paused both. The positions weren't just similar, they were identical. Same posture, same angle of the head tilt, same bare feet placement, as if duplicated. I rewound both 5 seconds, then 10, then 15. Both feeds showed her materialize, not walk in, just appear, frame 0, empty, frame 1, occupied. And in both, her face was turned away. I printed the images, laid them side by side. The background details didn't match. One showed end cap signage we hadn't used in 2 years. The other displayed a promotional poster for a brand we stopped carrying last spring. 2 realities, 1 figure. That night, the monitors glitched. It was 2:47 a.m. Every feed went to static, but not at once, in sequence. First camera 1, then 2, then 3, 4 seconds later. By the time it reached camera 13, the static was full screen. I stood in the booth. No movement, no radio signal, just snow. Then the intercom clicked on again. No voice, just sound. Static, but layered with something else. Like breathing, shallow and fast. The line cut. Monitors blinked once, came back, and she was there again. Camera 4, crouched behind the candy aisle. Camera 8, standing by the employee restroom door. Both at the same time. I blinked. Then camera 6 activated. She was walking now, not fast, not slow. Just walking, but toward the lens. Head still down, arms swinging loosely. Then the screen warped. Her figure twisted, like an old VHS tape being rewound mid-playback. Colors inverted. Shapes melted. Then silence. All feeds normal again. Nothing in any of them. I checked the recording logs. No gaps, no data loss, no anomalies listed. But the timestamps were wrong. Each camera had a different clock, off by seconds, some by full minutes. That never happens. The system syncs every hour automatically, unless something interferes. I stayed in the booth until 5:12 a.m., didn't walk the floor, didn't speak, just watched. And for the rest of that night, nothing moved, except one monitor, camera 13. The image stuttered once every 7 seconds, just enough to catch motion blur in the corner of the frame, like something pacing, just outside view, waiting for the lens to blink. I knew it was coming. You can feel it when something's about to cross a line, when the silence isn't holding anymore, when watching becomes doing. She had been moving closer each night, from shelves, to glass, to doors, always on the edge of presence, until the night she spoke again. Not through the intercom, not through the monitors, directly. I was in the automotive section, 2:46 a.m., walking my route, flashlight lowered, head down. Then I heard it, directly behind me. Craig, not whispered, not distant, spoken. I turned fast, nothing there, but the voice had mass. It pushed the air. It was low, not girlish, not light. It was flat, dull, like sound from behind drywall. I stepped back, turned again, checked the aisle, still empty. Then, again, this time from the far end. Come closer. Not a suggestion, a pull. My flashlight dimmed. I shook it, beam flickered. Then from the shelves to my left, a knock. 3 slow taps, hollow, like small knuckles against plastic. I backed away, reached for my radio, static. Then the voice again. Don't leave. Same tone, same depth. Unnatural. I moved faster now, toward the center of the store, toward light, toward noise. But the store felt deeper that night. Aisles longer, roof higher, like she had changed the shape of it. Then came the smell. Sweet, artificial, like melting wax and strawberry shampoo. Familiar, but wrong. I turned a corner, and she was there. First time, face to face, 5 feet away. No motion, no flicker. She was real. Pajamas wrinkled, feet pale, hair hanging wet, as if she just stepped out of rain, and her mouth was open. Not wide, just enough to speak, but the sound didn't match her lips. It didn't come from her. It came through her. A man's voice, too deep for her size, flat, measured. "You see now." Then silence. She tilted her head, one eye twitching, like the flesh didn't belong to the thing inside it. Then she raised her arm, not to point, to reach. Her hand stopped inches from my chest. I didn't move, couldn't. And for just 1 second, I saw it. Behind her eyes, a depth that didn't belong to this world, like looking through the surface of a lake at something buried far below. Then the lights burst, literally, one by one, down the aisle. Bulbs exploded in sequence. Pop, pop, pop. Darkness. I blinked, and she was gone. Gone like she'd never been there. But the smell remained. So did the handprint on my shirt, pressed in dust. 5 small fingers, perfectly spaced. I didn't wash it. I didn't report it. I sat in the booth until the sun came up, hands still trembling. And in the morning, the shirt was clean. Too clean. Like the mark had never been real, or had been removed by something that knew it didn't belong. It was raining that night. Not outside. Inside. Condensation dripping from the vents. Water forming slow trails down the freezer doors. No leaks in the ceiling. No changes in pressure. Just moisture where it didn't belong. 2:38 a.m. The monitors showed something impossible. Camera 13. Live feed. The aisle was open again. Boxes removed. Path cleared. No workers, no forklifts, just open. The corridor looked wrong. Wider, longer. The overhead lights were dimmed but still on. Just enough to outline a path into the back. I walked toward it. No radio, no flashlight, nothing in my hands. Just me and the smell. Not rot, not mold. Sweetness again. Thick, synthetic. It clung to my clothes as I passed the threshold. Inside, everything felt padded. The sound changed. My footsteps didn't echo. Shelves stretched taller than I remembered. Labels blurred. Brands I didn't recognize. Rows of packaging that looked familiar but slightly off. Names that didn't make sense. Boxes with no print. Toys with too many limbs. Plush animals with the wrong eyes. Nothing moved, but the whole aisle felt like it was breathing. I kept walking. 20 paces in, the air grew heavy. My ears popped, like descending in a plane. Then I saw her, not at the end, but standing halfway, facing me this time. Hair dry, clothes clean, no expression, just waiting. I stopped. She lifted one hand, palm up, as if offering something invisible. Then the lights behind her flickered, not in sequence, but randomly, chaotic. A strobe effect, like they couldn't decide if they wanted to reveal or conceal her. I stepped forward, and the aisle narrowed. Literally. Shelves leaned inward. Angles shifted, like the space didn't want me to pass. I looked up. No ceiling. Just black. Not shadow. Absence. Above the lights, nothing. No pipes, no tiles, just depth. I turned around. The entrance was gone. Boxes returned, stacked high, sealed tight. No way back. When I turned again, she was closer, 5 feet away. Same distance as the last time, but this time, she spoke with her own mouth. The voice wasn't borrowed, it was hers. And it was wrong. Stay. One word, sharp, bright, not a request. I backed away. The shelves groaned. The floor bent slightly, like something underneath was shifting. I closed my eyes, felt the weight of the store pressing inward. The air started to buzz, faint electricity in the back of my teeth. Then, silence. I opened my eyes, and I was outside the aisle, standing in the main corridor. No boxes, no girl, no darkness, just normal. People would say I hallucinated, lost time. But I checked the booth clock. Only 4 minutes had passed. I checked the cameras. Camera 13 was static for that entire window. Every other feed normal. I walked the store once more that night. Didn't speak, didn't check the aisle again. And when I sat back down in the booth, I found something in my pocket. Not keys, not paper, a tooth, small, human, perfectly clean. It was never more than a glimpse. A flicker, a frame, a whisper in the middle of motion. Until that night. The night she stayed. No flickers, no glitches. She just appeared and didn't leave. It was 2:19 a.m. I was in the booth, watching the monitors. No movement, no patterns, no let up. Then, camera 1, the front doors, activated. Motion detected. I looked up, and she was there, standing outside the automatic doors. Still, not pacing, not peering, just standing, barefoot, hair over her face. Her arms hung loose at her sides. She didn't try to come in, didn't even move. She just stood there, in the middle of the frame, centered between the glass doors. I checked the exterior feed, nothing. Checked the proximity sensors, dead. But the indoor camera showed her, clearly. I waited for her to vanish. She didn't. At 2:32 she was still there. At 2:58, same posture. At 3:15, I went to the front of the store. Didn't go out. Just watched through the security glass. And I saw her. The same way she looked on the monitor. Motionless. Except now, her eyes were open. She was looking directly at me. Not angry, not sad, just looking. I stayed there, hands in my jacket, mouth dry, for 40 minutes. She never flinched. People say time moves fast when you're scared. But not that night. That night stretched. Every second felt like a question I didn't want to answer. At 3:57, I blinked, and she was gone. Not turned, not walked away. Just no longer there. The glass was clear again, the entrance empty. The sensors flickered back to life. I walked outside. No footprints, no condensation, just wind. But the feeling stayed, like the space she'd occupied hadn't fully closed behind her. Back in the booth, the monitors were normal, all except one. Camera 1's feed was frozen. Not static, not black, frozen. On her image. Still standing, still staring. Timestamp stuck at 2:19 a.m. I power cycled the system, reset the software, even swapped the monitor cable. Still there. Only when I looked away, truly looked away, did the feed blink back to real time. It was like she was waiting for me to admit something, like I had failed a test I didn't understand. That was the last night she lingered like that, long, silent, unblinking, like she wanted me to know. I wasn't just seeing her anymore, I was being seen. I still work here, 5 nights a week, same hours, same halls. But something's changed, not in the store, in me. I don't check the monitors the way I used to, don't walk the full route anymore. Not unless I have to. Most nights I stay close to the booth, keep the lights low, keep my eyes down when I walk past aisle 13, and I don't ask questions. Not about the toys that move shelves without sound. Not about the extra rows of items that weren't there yesterday. Not about the third shift employee no one hired, who sometimes clocks in on paper but is never seen. Because I know better now. I know how it starts. You see something once. You pause. You rewind. You dismiss it. Then you see it again. Then you hear it. And then it speaks. And if you're not careful, you answer. That's when it stays. That's when it finds you. I never spoke to her directly. Not really. Not more than a word. But I listened. I let her in. And now, some nights, when the store goes quiet, really quiet, I hear her walking. Not fast. Not loud. Just enough to know she's here. Like a tenant no one remembers leasing space to, I don't report it. Because there's nothing to report. Not officially. Not in ways that stay on paper. Managers cycle in and out. Karen's gone now. No explanation. Just a new name on the schedule. No one mentions it. Melba still cleans. Still skips aisle 13. I asked her once, just once, if she thought it would ever stop. She didn't answer. She just said, most things leave when they're seen. Then she looked up. But she was seen too long. Last week, I got a call from corporate. They're installing self-checkout overnight next month. More cameras, less staff, more silence. The kind she likes. So if you're listening to this, if you ever find yourself working the overnight shift, remember this. If you see a child alone in the store after 2 a.m., don't speak to them. Not even once. Not even to ask if they're lost, because they're not. They know exactly where they are, and they've been waiting a long time for someone like you.